and welcome to Sage Advice, Superhumans, and Storytelling, a little podcast video series that we've developed for high school seniors preparing to enter the adult world, where we interview experts who have been there and done that and who are out making their marks on the world right now. Coach Kean, how you doing today?
I'm doing quite well. We just got a mini blast of a little weather pattern that came through. But other than that, in these troubled times, I'm a happy guy. I'm ready to go.
That's wonderful. That's great.
Right.
So I have had the wonderful opportunity or the wonderful blessing of being friends with Coach Kean for, I don't know how long we've been friends for a while now, for a good time. A fellow NMU participant. And
Go Cats.
Go Cats, go Cats. So I dressed for the occasion today. I felt it was appropriate to sport the, the Northern gear. But it's kind of cool getting to interview people I'm friends with, just because these are not conversations that we would normally, we would have, but it's not like, the typical stuff that I would ask my friends about. So this is kind of exciting. So if you could, please, let's start. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Take it back a little bit here. So I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was a Badger growing up, and I went to the Wild UP for college, Northern Michigan University. And since the day that I was, somewhere in third grade, I decided I'm going to be a PE teacher. That's what I'm going to do. And so I followed that dream through high school. I took every single elective that they could let me in the PE department, except for the women's health update. They wouldn't let me take that course. Maybe nowadays they would, but back then I was not allowed to. So anyways, I did find my passions of outdoor pursuits. I was a Boy Scout in high school, played soccer, track and field, all that. Went to Northern Michigan and continued that PE department pursuit, and within that I found excitement within outdoor recreation. So I have an unfinished minor in outdoor rec, don't tell them. I did earth science, I loved earth science stuff. They wanted me to take a couple extra chemistry courses, and I said, I'm not doing it. That was just my end of that curtail right there. But I did go through PE, and I stuck with health. And so within that, I just didn't want to leave Northern Michigan. And so I loved it up in the area there. And I continued, I stayed on, and I got my master's in exercise science. And there were a few calculated, not risks, but I felt calculated decisions in that I'm not ready to go out and be a full-time teacher yet. I had done student teaching in New Zealand, which was a great experience. I wanted to see how the outdoor rec enthusiasts live life. We did rugby lessons out on the pitch there.
Yeah.
And we did real live golf, no wiffle balls in New Zealand. They're the place where they've got, they've got water slides. There was no rules, no railings in New Zealand. So they really love life. And that's kind of how I wanted to direct myself. Say what?
I never told you that I did rugby for a minute over the summer with the Northern team.
Oh, you look like a winger, mate. You could be a winger.
I was. And it was the most terrifying experience of my life because it was a co-ed summer practice deal. And so I was playing, it was just touch, but I was playing with these gigantic buff dudes. And, I'm this little, 100-something pound scrawny girl. So
squirrely.
Squirrely and scrawny. So yeah, that was terrifying. But so great times in New Zealand. Loved that. Then what? What happened next?
So then I came back up into the Marquette area to Northern Michigan, and they had actually saved me a position. So I was with the U.S. Olympic Education Center, the USOAC there, and I was an RA, basically a resident life coordinator, way more official, to the Olympic athletes. So I was basically the dorm help there, and we had our own floor. So it was kind of neat getting to see the Olympic athletes. We did have high school athletes from 16 years old all the way up to actual medalists from the Olympics. One example was a speed skater. So all the way up to 27. So I was working with people that are older than me, younger than me. It didn't really matter. I got to do some student teaching in the area as well. outside of the New Zealand piece there, I was up at Ishpeming High School, the Hematites.
I don't
And
know. I don't
then,
know about that.
yeah, the,
Oh wait, yes, I
the,
did. Because you talk about hematite rock a lot.
oh yeah, the rock. It's got great geology up there in the UP.
Coach Kean knows a lot about geology as well. That's a fun side note about Coach Kean.
And my world's upside down if you can see my map.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was sort of I would not say in the, it was not the grind of my life, but it felt like that hours wise. So there was a time when I got back from New Zealand, I basically was finishing up student teaching, driving up to Ishpeming High School every day. I would come back from that, and I was working with the Northern Michigan women's track and field program at the time as an assistant coach position. I'd been working with them for a few years. That was like the first year there. And then after practice, I'd either go to my own club soccer practice with the NMU Wildcats and just kick around with the boys there. I'd have my own homework, study, professional development kind of assessments. And then I was an RA till about midnight every night. Then I'd wake up 6 a.m. and I'd drive up to Ishpeming High School. I'd come back, I'd coach the ladies, maybe go to soccer practice if I could, do my assignments. And then I was an RA till midnight every night. And it was kind of like that, just this ever evolving situation. Yeah. And that was a decision I made. I said, they're going to cover my housing and food. They'll give me a little stipend. With the track program, I had a little stipend, but I was getting experience. It didn't matter if it was with women's track and field athletes, with high school students, or even just playing soccer with some of the college guys. Like, you get a different perspective of where everyone's at in life. And then I had the Olympic athletes living in our hall, or potential future Olympic athletes. So it was kind of a mentorship program for myself. I was learning and gleaning this information from everybody. To be honest, if I had to get to the calf and there might be a wall of wrestler guys in the hallway in my way, and they'd be like, "Let's go, Kean," and I'd have to fight my way through these little 100-pound guys just to get to dinner. But that was an experience I remembered. I'm a very expressive kind of person. People that know me know I like being around people. So that was why I went the education route. Not that I have a lot of lessons to give, but I find lessons in learning in almost every place we go. My mom was a history teacher, and my dad was a college professor in earth science. So everywhere we went was basically it was a tour or a field trip. And so I just kind of tried to pull everything out of the world. And so that's why I wanted to stay active when I was up at Northern Michigan.
Right. Yeah, something that I admire about you is it seems like, not just with this story, but just with anything in general, that you are somebody who is okay with making, I guess, sacrifices, not so much like, things that are going to make you unhappy, but sacrifices in terms of like getting sleep or whatever else in order to have experiences, in order to dive in head first. And I think a lot of people, are afraid to do stuff like that and don't take those same opportunities. Do you regret at all ever kind of living that kind of crazy grind, that lifestyle, or do you think that actually is something that you would recommend and you benefited from?
Directly to that question, I would almost say it empowered me. So I had all of that going on, and for those 10 years when I was at Northern Michigan, undergrad, student teaching, graduate school, coaching at Northern Michigan with the women's track program there, all of that. Every summer I would retire to the woods, northern Wisconsin. I worked I was a wilderness trip leader at a summer camp. And so I just kept that ball going at all times. There was a point where I was leading a 24-day backpacking trip in Montana. We're backcountry hiking for days at a time. We're above alpine line. And there was a point where there was comfort in drinking my little sip of tea, knowing I've got my last night in my tent. And then we'll be on a bus for 24 hours back to Wisconsin. I'd have 2 days to pack up, clean everything up, get the campers out. And then I was going to be down to Milwaukee, where I'm from. I'd have 12 hours of sleep, and I'd fly to New Zealand, and I was student teaching on Monday. And so it was like a Thursday or maybe a Wednesday night. I'm in the mountains of Montana. And I said, I'm going to be student teaching kids across the world. And not that it's a different language, but they do speak different. And I speak different to them down there. It's just kind of that whirlwind that it empowers you, because, I got to be ready. So I kind of take that with me. Part of my job now being a university track and field coach, but I'm also instructor. there's days where we get back at maybe it's 1, 2 in the morning, and that's no big deal. You go to sleep. You have all day Sunday to recover, just like a teacher has the weekend to recover, or a student has the weekend to recover before the work week again. But I'm processing what the workouts are, and then I teach at 8 a.m. on Monday, and so I don't really get that reprieve. So I just when I got downtime, I enjoy it, and when I know that something big's coming, I just wake up and say, hey, I'm ready to go. Like there's no reason to be scared. I will get through it, and I think it's all those rolling activities that I chose to do that sort of prepared me. In high school, I did marching band and I was on the soccer team. There's times where somebody's parent would drive us from the soccer game out in the hinterlands of Milwaukee. They'd drive us. We'd get there by 6:50. The game would go off at 7, and I was doing the little drum cadence all the way down to the field. Put my little hat on, and we would dance around out there. And then it was Friday night, and then I might have a soccer tournament on Saturday morning. Who knows? But I think that is something I took from high school to college. Is you can still have a really energetic lifestyle. It's almost like you have that organization to know every day is going to be interesting that way.
Right, absolutely. So right now you are in Bemidji, Minnesota. You said it just snowed there. I'm going to show a little map so people can see kind of where Bemidji is, because had I not run track and field for Northern Michigan University, I would have no idea where Bemidji State University is. So over here on the map, we've got Bemidji right down in here. Here we are, all the way over in Marquette. It's about, an 8-9 hour drive to there?
Yeah, it's somewhere in there. They recently changed the speed limits over by Wakefield there, so you can get through the UP a little quicker. But I'd say between 8 and 9 hours. We're technically a half degree or so, maybe a full degree north of Marquette, that Marquette area. So we're at about 47 degrees north latitude, which is pretty incredible. I always say, we can fact check me later. I think we're farther north on planet Earth than 80 to 90% of Canada's population, which is pretty hilarious.
It's awesome.
It's just something to think about.
So you've got to be a little gritty. I mean, similar to Marquette, you've got to be pretty gritty, or the UP in general, but you got to be pretty gritty to live there and survive the winters. Obviously, it's still snowing in April.
Yeah,
we get some snow today too, which I'm really not excited about. But your career in general, being, a head track and field coach, I know I have students who are interested in someday pursuing the coach route. And also it's just a really unique route as well. Not a lot of people actually, get that opportunity. There's only so many universities in the country here that have NCAA sports. Just looking at it as a whole, what have been kind of your most challenging moments in being a coach, either now or previously, most rewarding moments? Why did you ultimately choose where you're at now? I mean, obviously opportunity came up. That was a big deal. It's a pretty sweet opportunity. But what do you think? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I guess one of the largest challenges it wasn't like I had to step over it. It's not like, oh, here's a barrier and how do I get around it? There are times when taking certification tests, I remember, those are the kind of things where there is a pass and a fail, and you might have to retake it twice. I, for example, I'll go back and fast forward. I'm not great at taking tests, so I know that's going to be a hurdle for me. Even all the way back into high school, I took the ACT twice. I took an 8-week ACT prep course, and guess what? Turns out I still read slow. It wasn't going to change anything. And so I did not have these crazy off the chart grades. I had pretty decent average testing scores, but I found passion in what I was learning. And that was the message that I honestly had to take forward. I can remember I had to skip Saturday morning practice. In my senior year, soccer was a big deal for us. We were undefeated in conference. Not that I remember that. And I had to miss practices to go to this 4-hour ACT prep thing. And I thought it was super lame. But it was because my parents did care about what my future was. But I also understood, here's a challenge. And it's fun to work on all your, the good parts about you, but it's not always as easy to work on the ones that challenge you. So taking that forward, I found coaching kind of grabbed me, and so I just stuck with it. So I was at Northern Michigan doing my student teaching, all of that. I had already coached like a club track and field team there. There's no men's varsity track at this school. I chose Northern Michigan. So we created a track club, and then because of that, I became a president, and then because of that, I had to be in charge. And so when I made that decision, I'm going to be in charge, I said, I better know what I'm doing. So at age 18 or 19, this is all of my freshman, sophomore year, I went and got my first track and field certification. It was a weekend long situation. You go, you study, you learn about biomechanics or how the body moves. You learn about how the human body in different events works. So I came home with that certification after taking a test. And then that's what came into Northern Michigan. They said, hey, we need some help with this women's team. Would you like to coach? I said, sure. So I got to go from never being technically a varsity athlete to now being in charge of instruction. But that was PE. That's what I wanted to do. I said, this is great. Then because of that, we had some All-Americans, and then I got to get more excited. So what I chose to do with this, the reason that I am a head coach now at a Division II university, I get to offer scholarships to potential student athletes. I get to teach it at the university level, is all because I took that step a long time ago, and I said, I still want to be involved in this. And that's a big step. Just saying I want to be around it. A lot of coaches, if you're going coaching route, they're going to start in a volunteer situation. And that's absolutely what I was my first year. I didn't see it as anything beyond that. I never even knew if I had the ability to be a high school coach. I thought that was a pretty staggering motion because I very highly respected my high school coaches. And I knew that they were really talented athletes. And I said, well, I was all state, but I'm not a national record holder. How am I going to go and lead these people? And the answer is just keep being around it. And that's how I got to where I was. And the biggest challenge was just not letting who I was negatively impact me. Just roll with the punches and see where it lies. And so I went from Northern Michigan. I got to Tiffin University in Ohio. I was there for 2.5 years. We built our program up. I was just looking at some stats. We were 5th in the United States for Division II. We had our first national champion. I had a decathlete that was 2nd in the country. So we're at that spot where things are going right. And I applied for 2 jobs. I turned down the first head coaching job. It wasn't my right fit. Maybe I felt a little too young for it. And then this job at Bemidji opened up, and I jumped into it. I said, I may not be the best candidate, but you gave me a chance. So I'm going to see if you're wrong or not.
Absolutely. And so far it seems like it's going pretty well. Given, you've had a lot of athletes really step it up and break some. It seems like every time I look at the Facebook posts from your what I don't even know what it's called, the track and field and cross country one, it seems like there's school records every day, record breaking. Oh, we got someone going to the championships. That's really cool.
Right.
That's exciting.
We appreciate any positive attention we can gain.
Yeah.
we set 16 school records last year between indoors and outdoors.
Wow.
We're a women's only program. There's no men's track and field in our school. So 16 school records last year. This year indoors, we set about 7 or 8. Some of those were repeaters. The athletes get better. We bring in new athletes and work with them. But That's the whole piece is we're looking at, our university celebrated our 50 years of women's athletics and our 100th year as a university. And last year we set 16 of those records of maybe 35 or 40 records, just completely broke them. And then this year we rebroke some of them. So we're in a good spot where, hey, you look back 50 years, these are the best in history. And the only way that happens is if you think about it a little bit and then you support that, right? So we always talk about, and I apply this to my life, if you execute properly, the results take care of themselves. Absolutely. And that's the whole point. Go get your training, go get your certification or whatever it is, and then just be around what you love. And the results are going to take care of themselves. You're going to end up where you need to be. And you're going to learn from certain situations. A lot of times you're just like, that worked out pretty well. Let's keep poking the bear. Let's see if that works. I
love that as just, general life advice. That's so key because, again, it's so easy to get discouraged. Like you were saying, you may not have been old enough or you didn't feel ready enough for whatever position. It never hurts to try things. And I think that's something that I notice with people now more than ever is that people are actually pretty afraid to try things out of fear of failure. But turns out if you keep poking the bear might bite you. They're
still got another arm.
Can get bit.
Yeah,
But
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, the benefits usually outweigh the costs. If you're into it, you love it, you're passionate about it. I mean, that's what I'm gathering from you. I wholeheartedly agree with that. So that's pretty awesome. I mean, your athletes' records speak for themselves.
That's right.
So I don't know. You kind of touched on. I wanted you to give some advice or some thoughts, but you can go with either one of these questions. I have two of them, both of them pretty equally as valuable, and you can maybe even put them together. One of the questions being, what is one lesson that you value now but was difficult to learn or you didn't realize how it would be valuable at the time? So those hard won wisdoms, the things that the bear that bites a little bit. And then secondly, a piece of advice that you would give yourself as a high school student or new graduate, and what that would look like for you if you could go back in time. So you can pick one, both. What do you think?
Yeah. So speaking to that first piece, a lesson that, and they're sort of integrated, but I would go back and I would look at myself coming out of high school, and I was involved in a lot of activities, and that was sort of who I was, and I felt like I was the kid in the lunchroom that I could sit at any table. I was not excused from anywhere. But I may not be welcome. They may not want me there as well. So I just worked my way in there. To that point, I think the hardest lesson is understanding you're not going to be perfect at any one thing. And that's just through history, we've proven hard to be perfect at things. So with that being said, I would strongly encourage my younger version of myself to explore, even if knowing you're not going to be the best. And I was a big believer in high school. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to be the best at it. And I have little accolades, right? Setting a school record would be important if I was a track athlete, which I was. Or if we're going to make our state track and field team, if we're going to get to state, we better come home with a medal. You know what I mean? There's only, in this Wisconsin State meet, there's top six get a medal. Top 8 sometimes are on the podium. But that was my perspective. If I'm going to be on a soccer team, I'm going to be the most fit. No questions asked, as long as I have that ability. Until I get injured, I'm going to make you prove that I'm not the most fit, right? And that was kind of my more aggressive, young male, bullheaded, because I had success with that. There was never, I was telling this story the other day, there was never a soccer team I didn't make because there was never a soccer team I didn't make because I wasn't the most fit. Right. If I was the most fit, I would make every team. And so I use that throughout my life. But there is a point where I started realizing I don't have to be the best at everything, and I can still be around it, right? So something that I sort of switched with, in my adult life, let's say post-college, I started doing this in grad school. I would surround myself with people, when I learned I didn't have to be the best, with people that knew way more or had way more experience. And I also kind of learned to shut up. And that was a big day for me. I got a big mouth, and I love to hear myself speak, but only when I think I know something about the matter. There are people who want to be in front of the crowd and say something. That's more of my expressive personality. I learned that about myself working at that summer camp. If the room's quiet for 5 minutes, I'm not going to let it wait for 6. I'm going to speak up. Let's get this thing going, right? Mm-hmm. But within that, I had to learn my maturity was, let's just listen to the older guy or older gal in the room. Let's see what they had to say first. And that was shifting towards like these personality styles. I'm thinking of a quadrant that I worked with, and just knowing where do I speak from best, and what I don't do the greatest is see all of the avenues, all of the plans. So that was my coveted moment of, I'm going to listen to other people, those analytic people that have plans. They're building plans for plans to be prepared. I just got to listen to them first. And maybe I am the type of person that has to carry out the plan. Not always. But that was kind of the big life lesson. I don't have to be the best at everything as long as I surround myself with the people that are better than me.
Absolutely. I love that. It's interesting that we don't have the same Myers-Briggs personality type. What are you again? I'm an ENFP. What are you?
Ooh, I wouldn't be able to answer that.
You don't even remember.
Confidently.
Oh my gosh. I think you're like an ESFP or something. What is he?
What'd you say?
I was right.
ESFJ.
Oh, ESFJ.
ENTP. See, we're just speaking alphabet. I know all of the letters in the alphabet here. So Uh,
I mean, yeah, so we don't have the same personality type. For those of you watching this, our friend group gets together and has Zoom meetings to see each other, which Zoom is so awesome. I just have to, an aside here, Zoom is great. I think it's funny how many people are getting on now, and they're also, seeing people they haven't seen in forever. Like we, as a friend group from college, we never used to, have weekly conversations. So this has been super nice and super
got
cool.
the time for it now.
We've got time or whatever. We've got all the time. And I just think it's funny, I love the things I see on, Facebook or social media or whatever else about people having work meetings, and they're like business on top and party on the bottom.
They got their dog with them at all times. That's their work associate.
My cat's been butting into my conversations lately too, which is kind of funny. She's, wherever, but I decided to partake in a little business on top and party on the bottom with K2 action, taking a play right out of, I don't know if you've seen the YouTube videos by Jim Halpert that he's been doing, not Jim Halpert, John Krasinski.
I know the reference. I'll be honest, I have not seen them.
They're like, they're kind of cute. They're, it's good. It's all good news, which, even if there wasn't a global pandemic right now, good news is pretty great. I like a little good news, but there's my tangent. But I'm surprised you and I don't have a similar personality type, or at least the same one, because I was very much so like that as well. Like I was involved in everything. And I was like, I'm going to be the best at this. I'm going to be student council president. I'm going to, be the best on my cross country and track teams. All these really big kind of lofty goals, because I ultimately became a master of none. I was really good at all of those things, but because I wasn't devoting time to specific things, I was just all over the place. And I would be discouraged if I wasn't the best. Like, super unrealistic.
How is this possible?
How is this possible that I am not the best at something? That's been a nice lesson to learn in the adult life. Figuring that out.
There are professionals in every event, so we're just gonna let those professionals handle it nowadays.
Yeah. Finally we've learned that we can, send work to other people.
That's it. We something I learned at that summer camp that I worked at is that leadership and followership, they go hand in hand. That's my little takeaway, right? Because you can't just have everyone leading each other. There's times where we're going to speak up and lead from our own perspectives, our own strengths, but you have to be a follower at some point if you're going to have a leader, and vice versa.
Right.
And that's something, you can take that out of the woods, my little summer camp in northern Wisconsin, and you can apply that to everything you do. Walking across the street, you look both ways, of course. Well, did you look left, right? Did you look up? No. Why would I look up? Well, maybe there's a reason, and so you have to have people that have those thoughts, and sometimes you let them step forward and sometimes you step forward.
That's awesome. Love that. Cool. Well, do you have any final parting words? Thanks for agreeing to do this. I'm really excited to share this stuff with my students. It's good for them to see real people talking about real things.
I would say it's two-part, but it's very similar. One thing, if you're going the college route, something that my mom's friend told me, I was 17 years old. I was a senior in high school. I was about to go, and it was right around now. It was Easter, because I remember there was a lamb cake. I don't know if they do that in the UP, but we had a cake.
Is that?
It was a cake in the shape of a lamb, like a baby sheep. It was the lamb cake, right? It's Easter time. And so I remember the lamb cake because I said, "What is that?" Just like you did. And my mother's friend, who is a teacher, told me like, "Oh, are you going to school next year? How's it going?" I was like, just a little scared, whatever, intimidated. She's like, "Why?" Like, all of the reasons, I just talked about. You love life. Why? I'm like, it's just something so different. I'm going to leave my family. I'm going to be on my own. I got to do my own laundry. What is this place? Basically, she said, "Don't worry about it. You're going to have the most fun of your life is that freshman year of college, that first year at university. And I said, really? She said, oh, absolutely. And it was like taking off the raincoat and the rain goes away. I was like, this is awesome. And I went into it with that perspective. This will be the best year of my life. And it totally was at that point. It was spectacular. I still talk to all my college friends, even college roommates. It's an incredible point. That being said, if you don't go the college route, keep everything fun. It's the same message. Go into it knowing this will be the best year of your life, and you can make it that way. It's true. It works.
Yeah. Mindset. All about mindset, honestly. Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And
yes, indeed.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say because I don't know how to end something like this. And I'm going to edit this moment out because I really don't know what to say. Stay young, stay awesome, stay motivated, work hard, play hard.
That's it.
There it is.
Go Beavers.
Go Beavers, go Cats.